So yesterday, I was told some news that the £30,000 investment that I'd made into a small company had failed. You can see here the email from the liquidator that says that the company's going to go into liquidation. And it looks like all the money that I invested is lost. So I want to share with you this video today as a potential person that's maybe looking to invest in companies or thinking of just doing some stuff to help other people, of the 6 things that I got badly wrong with this investment, just so that you don't have to make the same mistakes and go through what I'm going through right now. It happens, it's life, but I want to share with you the insights that can help you avoid making the same mistake. So mistake number 1 that I made was that the area that I went into was not core to the skill set that I had. I invested in a clothing company, and being honest, what do I know about clothing? The answer is not a lot. And even though I saw a market opportunity, and there is a market opportunity for the company and the target market they were going and focusing on, it's an area that's non-core to me and my skill set. I've built a career up in sales and been able to be successful in working to help train sales companies and building sales companies. I'm not into clothes. It's not an area that I'm core and good at. And the reality is, I didn't have enough knowledge to be able to query and question certain elements around where the clothes are being produced and certain aspects around the pricing of those individual products. And in the end, especially when it comes down to the marketing and advertising around the products, it wasn't core to my skill set. So my biggest advice number 1 is this. If you're going to invest in something, and a good friend of mine that does invest successfully says, stick to areas that you know, stick to areas that you're comfortable with and can really add value in, rather than just focusing on stuff that sounds intriguing, but isn't core to what you do. So point number 2 is this: no documents. When I invested at the start, I was a really nice guy and I thought, hey, I'm just going to make this investment happen without doing some of the due diligence of a shareholders agreement and loan agreements in place that would have guarded me and protected me in the event of something going wrong. I was a lovely guy. I said, oh, we'll sort it all out. And it's always one of those challenges when you're engaging with a new potential investor to be able to talk to people and you want to build that relationship. But the reality is you've got to get the documents in place. It's critical that you have a shareholders agreement that indicates the shareholding between you and the other person. And maybe what's going to happen, especially if that shareholding is going to change over time. We'd outlined it in an email, but we hadn't got that documentation in place. And when it comes to some of the challenges that we had as we went through the business, it basically meant that there was a disagreement as to what was legally inbound. So the reality is, get documents in place. Yes, build relationships, but before you put money in, make sure that you've got coverage to ensure that in the event of something going wrong, you've got legal recompense in order to avoid a difficult situation. So the third point on this issue that's cost me when it comes to the investment was business insight. I thought I was working with some nice people, and I thought they understood business in the same way as I did. But the reality is, it's proved they didn't. To me, sales is the number 1 king part of any business. If you don't bring business in and cash into your business can't survive. And the reality is, this business has folded because it didn't bring enough cash in. It didn't sell enough of the product. And sometimes we have to be flexible and adjust the way in which we do things in order to bring business in. And if the reality is, my passion in working with people is to generate business, to generate new opportunities. But if the people you're working alongside have a different thought process and don't understand things in the same way, there's always going to be a challenge. So make sure that you focus on working with people that understand the core critical aspects of business and are alongside you and want to work in the same way. Because if you've got those discrepancies, it's always going to potentially end up in a problem, which ends up then in a company going out of business, which is what happened here. So point number 4 is this: appetite for work. The people I went into business with had a pretty much different appetite to what they think work is. For example, some people think taking action is sending 5 emails or making 5 calls a day. Some people think it's making 50 and other people think it's making 500. The reality is, the people I was engaging with just didn't have the same work ethic and appetite to do things as I did. They were a bit, if I'm honest, a bit lazy in getting things done. They wanted other things done by other people, whereas for me, it's about taking action and making things happen. So make sure you start to get an alignment before you start putting money in as to what people's appetite for work is. How much are they going to give to make this happen? Or how much are they thinking that they can get away with in order to just get on by? The reality is, if you don't align the two together, you're going to have a challenge when you think they should be doing something and they think the other. In my case, they just didn't have enough appetite for work to make it happen, and they also didn't know how to do the work, which meant that it took more of my time, and in the end, it just couldn't get to a stage where they could really get what they wanted in the right way. So make sure you match the appetite for work. It's critical. If you don't get that, you're going to get discrepancies, and it's going to end up hurting both you and them and end up causing the business to fall, as this one has done. So the fifth point around this is your role as an investor. In this particular business, I was a backseat investor. I wasn't the person running the business day to day. But it's really critical that you define what your role is. I was in the position where I would provide resources and support to do things, but it wasn't my day-to-day activity. It's not my day-to-day job. I have other things. I have other companies and things to do. But in this situation here, the role and what was actually involved, I was probably, maybe in some cases, helping out a little bit too much and then stepping back. It's key to be able to assign what it is you're going to do. Are you going to be a silent investor and be not involved day to day and then just use metrics and reports on a monthly or quarterly basis to see how things are going? Or are you going to be a bit more actively involved? In this case here, I got myself involved in some cases and got my team involved, but then that maybe created some other challenges because the people doing the day-to-day things weren't sure around who was doing what when. So clarify your role as an investor. Are you being involved day to day, or are you stepping back? And make sure you stick to that and then let the business go on and move forward without you being involved if that's the decision you choose. But don't be in a halfway house. It costs me dearly. And the sixth point for me is about value of time and expertise. The people that I went into business with and invested in didn't really understand the value of the time that I give and the time of my team. And they had no idea of what things were actually costing them. For example, we were putting together campaigns to create marketing elements with my team, but yet they just thought that was part and parcel of everyday life. They didn't realize how much time that would take and for me to be involved, what the investment would look like. So make sure that the people that you're working with understand the value of your time. And if they do want more of your time, then you also take up more shareholding as a result of that. The agreement I had with the company was that more of my time would be given for more of the shares. But because I didn't get my documents in place, there was then a discrepancy around that when things started to go a bit difficult. So these 6 things are the things that have cost me. The reality is I've invested in businesses, some are successful, some are not. In this case here, I was an investor that was going to take a step back, and the reality is I've now lost the money, and it may well be that I can gain something back from the liquidator, but in general terms, this is one that I've just got to chalk down to experience. It hurts though, because losing any amount of money such as £30,000 is something I wouldn't want to do, and I wouldn't want it to happen to you. But the key thing is my dad always tells me is life's not full of mistakes, but learning experiences. I'm going to learn off these 6 points and make sure when I do go into a business again with other people and make investments, that I take note of these elements. It's not going to stop me from doing it, but I'm certainly going to take the warnings and make sure I don't make the same mistakes again. But I hope this video was useful for you and giving you some insights into what I got wrong when it came to a business that sadly has now gone into liquidation. I want you to avoid making the same mistakes. Tell me, what are the things? Let me know in the comment section below that you put in place maybe as an investor or when you put money into businesses that ensure that you get the right return. Or maybe it's just part and parcel of the journey that we have to invest in some will fail, some will succeed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to know what you hear. But I hope the video has been useful, sharing my story. It's an honest, open story around what I got wrong. I do lots of things right, but this one I got wrong. Sometimes it happens. Let's move on and get to the next one. Hope you've enjoyed the video. A little bit of a different one to my normal sales channel that I talk about, but I thought it's an honest story about what I've done that you can learn from as well. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have learned some of the ideas that I've shared here and think, hey, this guy's helpful, hit that subscribe button. Lots of other insights and videos that I want to share with you, lessons that I've learned, things that can help you become better and more successful in what you're doing. This was a mistake on my part, but hey, if you want to see some of the other good stuff that I've done, click here. See you next week for the next video.